So how many of you just ever sit here and look at your kayak and think about all the different things that you can do with it? Well, I tend to do that down here in my basement. I've got all of my kayaks down here. You know, this is where I think about the things I want to change with the kayaks, maybe things I want to try. I've had this FeelFree Airship out on the water. I've taken it to the beach, put it in the lake. I have fished out of it, and I have found a few things that I would like to add, or at least change to this kayak. I do take the YakAttack black pack with me. That is attached in the back. It gives me place to mount my rods. I do have the VisiCarbon Pro back there, and I do have a camera mount. So that's strapped to the back, but the Airship is missing something. And one of those areas that I feel like it's missing is paddle holder. So I'm gonna take 4 YakAttack Switchpad mounts. After we get this thing cleaned up, we're gonna mount them in 4 locations on the Airship. And then that way, once that's all set up, we'll be good to go for the rest of the year. I'll be able to add my paddle holder on one side. I'll be able to add rod holders, either to the pontoons, cup holders, the other storage solutions that either YakAttack or any other vendor has. As you can see with the Airship itself, I mean, you've got the 2 pieces, the 2 rigid pieces of plastic that come together, and then the pontoon that goes around the outside. Now, with that, you don't have much storage on this kayak, but we're going to change that. So let me get everything set up, take this thing outside, start the process of getting it cleaned up. I'm going to bring it back in. All right, see y'all out there. Oh man, I am outside. I had to put a hoodie on. It is cooler out here than I was expecting it to be, and it's raining. So I didn't really care about the rain. The boat is going to get completely wet anyway, but I do have the inflatable boat cleaner and a sponge, and all I'm going to do is spray everything down, you know, really good, just to try and knock off anything that's semi-loose or just sitting on top of the 3 pieces that we have here. And then I'm going to spray the boat cleaner, let it sit for a little bit. Of course, the rain's going to wash it off some, but I may do that a few times. Wipe it all off, and then, you know, make sure it's good and clean. Take it back inside. We're going to dry it off, and we're going to reassemble everything back in the basement. That way, once it's completely dry, inflate it back up to 13 psi. I don't ever inflate mine up to 15, but I do inflate it to 13 psi, and then we will go through the process of installing the switch pads. So let's go. All right, let's get inside. It decided to start coming down a lot more once I started this. So I'm gonna get inside, dry everything off, including myself because I'm soaked. And then we're gonna get to installing the switch pads. Whew. See y'all back inside. Whew. All right, we've dried out some. I had to switch my hat. The other hat was soaked. So we're back inside. Now we're ready to go through the process of adding the YakAttack switch pads to the top of these pontoons. So there's going to be several things that we're going to need here. Of course, the switch pads themselves. I've got a piece of 150 grit sandpaper. We're going to lightly sand both the pontoon surface and the glossy finish that's on the bottom of the switch pad, just so you can, you know, be sure that the vinyl cement, HH66, I highly recommend this. I've used this on other inflatables and it works out really well. Been using fresh and salt water and haven't had the first problem. So we're gonna need that. Some painter's tape, a pencil for drawing out where we want the switch pads. I've got, how much is this? 91% isopropyl alcohol for cleaning, and then just some dry paper towels. So I have already laid out where the switch pads are going to go. I will just tell you this for reference. When these pontoons, when they're completely deflated and you're putting them back in the bag that they came in, you have to fold the two halves together, and then it folds over again. So be sure that when you're doing anything, if you plan to add switch pads to your Airship, try to stay out of the middle section. Just measure it out. The way I have it, I'm going 12 inches to the center forwards, and then 24 inches from this little divot back here to the center of this switch pad. Just for reference, I'm only doing 2 today. I'm going to get 2 more. I'm waiting for those to come in the mail. That way I can have the paddle, like I said earlier, paddle on one side, and then rod holders or whatever else on the other side. So what we're going to do here is, first, I've already measured them out, but what I want to do is clean the surface area. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to use all these. I'll just grab 2 and set that behind me, and I'll remeasure them just to be sure they're going exactly where I want them to. So I'm going to wet this, and just be sure this area doesn't have anything else on it. We cleaned it just a second ago, but with this, it cleans off any other type of slick substance that would be inside any of these cleaners, or maybe if you missed a spot or anything like that. So just be sure you clean it really well. All right, get this other area here. Really, we're going to be done with that. That's going to dry on its own, but it doesn't hurt to go back over it and just be sure you've got everything on. Okay. All right, we're good there. Now let's go back and remeasure where we're going to put these switch pads. So I mentioned this is going to be 12 inches forward this way to the center. And you can eyeball some of it. I've already done all the measurements, but I'm just going to be sure when I'm putting these in place, it's even on both sides and it's sitting directly on top of the drop stitch. Right. And this one is 24 inches. Same thing, right in the center. All right. This is where the pencil comes in. You're not going to hurt anything. All we're going to do here is hold it down exactly where we want it. We're just going to trace around it. And this helps us put the painter's tape on there, just so you don't make too much of a mess. You don't have to use the painter's tape. I just like using it to go around it. And I may try it on one, and then the other one I may just not even use it at all. Yep, I can lightly see where all that is. Now I'm going to get this one done. One thing that I didn't really mention yet is I also use a heat gun. You have to let the vinyl cement sit for 2 to 5 minutes on both sides, the back of this and the pontoon itself. But I like to heat it up as well, just to make the cement a little pliable and the plastic itself on the switch pad. All right, I can see that one as well. I'm just going to flip these upside down, get the pencil out of the way, and let's see, what do I want to do? I'll use painter's tape, and I'll attach that all the way around, and I'll come right back. Alrighty, now as you can see, we've got the painter's tape on both sections. As I was doing this, I did go a little bit outside of the pencil line, and it's okay. Honestly, if you get some of the vinyl cement a little outside the area, it's not going to hurt anything. So now let's take the 150 grit sandpaper, and what we're going to do is we're just going to lightly sand. And actually, if it were me doing this or telling anyone else, like I'm telling you all now, I would try to use something maybe a little lighter than 150, but that's all I have right now. So I'm just going to lightly sand. You're not going to hurt anything. This just helps the vinyl cement stick a little easier. Be sure you don't lose any of these nuts back here either. Be a sad day if you put this on your inflatable and then you forget to have the nuts back there when you attach it, and you're not going to be able to attach any of the accessories on top. You know, I say that, but this 150 seems to be working just fine. And then after we're done with this, we're going to be sure that we clean this as well. That way, any of the residue isn't prohibiting the vinyl cement from sticking really well. And then once you just realize that all of the shiny part is off of it, you can see the difference there. We'll go on to the next one. All right. We'll get our alcohol again. I said we weren't going to need it, but I like using it for this step as well. You don't need much, just enough to clean off any leftover residue here. So you can tell right there that it's still removing a lot of the pieces that did get scraped off. All right, and just a dry one. Okay. All right, now as those continue to dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly, and I mean very lightly, rough up this surface as well. You're really not digging into the pontoon material at all, the vinyl. You're really just trying to get a tiny bit of that upper surface just roughed up. So be very careful with this. You don't need to really do it that much. We're just making sure all of our areas are really prepped pretty good, because you don't want to have to do this again later on. That one's done. Guess what we're going to do now? Man, I shouldn't have said that we weren't going to keep using this stuff. All right, we're just going to get a little bit on here. Do the same thing. Clean it off. Okay. Now we're ready for the vinyl cement. There's a few things, you know, it does have the instructions on the back. I follow the exact instructions that are on here. I do use the heat gun. So I think that's the only thing that I do. And that's really just to make sure this plastic, you know, I'm in a cold basement and it's February, but even during the summer, I tend to use that just to heat this up slightly. So that's the one thing that I'm going to do that's going to be slightly different, or at least what's different on here. So let me get all this stuff opened, be sure that I have everything that I need, and we'll do this last step. Well, here we go. I have the vinyl cement open, and one of the things that I need to stress about this is even coats. You know, you don't need to glob a ton on here. You need to just be sure that you have an even coat everywhere that you're going to need, you know, to stick all of this. So what we're going to do, start that process. You'll want to do this in a ventilated area. I don't really, I mean, I do it in this large basement, and I'll turn a fan on sometimes, but I don't have that today. But you know, do this in a ventilated area, just so you're not sitting here smelling all of this. After we have this one coated, I'm going to coat the pontoon. That way they're on the same type of time frame. They do want you to let it sit for 2 to 5 minutes. I usually go the full 5 minutes until it is tacky. Just be sure you coat all the way to the very edge. Okay, that looks like it's pretty evenly coated there. I'm just going to set that there. Don't set that the wrong way. That would be bad. All right. So now I'm going to coat the pontoon as well. And usually what I do when it's time to stick the switch pad down, I remove the painter's tape maybe right at the same time, just so it doesn't stick to that. It's really just to help me get an outline of where I want the pad to go. You can do just the pencil, but I feel like the painter's tape just helps me visually figure out where I'm going to put everything at. All right, I'm going to set my timer, probably do it for 4 minutes, and then I'm going to start touching it just to see if it's at that tacky consistency. And then from there, we'll heat it up with the heat gun just slightly to make the plastic pliable and set it right on there. Alrighty, our timer has gone off. So let's check this first one. Slightly tacky. I'm going to warm the vinyl up now, or the plastic, just so it gets a little pliable. I'm going to go on this side as well. It's actually pretty good. Warm that side. And now the placement. That is going to be the hardest part. Just being sure we are placing it exactly where we want it to go. We are going to put pressure on it. We're going to go all the way around. And now I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off just so it's not in the way. And we are gonna let this sit like this for at least 24 hours. I like to let it sit 48 before I do anything. But after that, you're good to go. Add the top plate and add your accessories. There you go. And I'll just continue to sit here and apply a little bit of pressure, and then should be good to go. Let it sit there and cure as time allows. We'll come back and probably be in another video, but we'll come back and show you what else I've done with this. So I appreciate you watching. That's all for this particular piece of adding these YakAttack switch pads to the vinyl pontoons. Thanks. Take care.